The virtual era is a time when the way people and organizations use technology is fundamentally changing. What they want from technology and its providers is also changing. It's an era where a confluence of disruptive technologies that are defining and will define the way we work and live. In the virtual era, information and knowledge is more widely available than any time in our history. Much of our communication is done through digital means, and we are capturing data at an absolutely unprecedented rate. I'll share with you a couple of interesting facts about the era in which we live. If you go back a month, over the last month, 30 billion pieces of content were added to Facebook. 2 billion videos were watched on YouTube, and 293 billion emails were sent yesterday. 107 trillion emails were sent over the past 12 months, many of which are copied in my inbox. There are 1.9 billion people today connected to the internet, and amazingly, 33% of them are active users of Facebook. So you can see it has absolutely become pervasive in terms of how we leverage technology and information in a completely different way than we ever have before. In fact, while I've been speaking, or even less than the time since I started speaking, 70,000 photos have been uploaded to Facebook. So these are truly new times. Through the hyperuse and adoption of technology, we see unprecedented and rapid growth in the flow of information and communication. This increases business complexity and is driving pervasive globalization across our organizations. Today, the computer industry is at a critical inflection point that will redefine the types of products and services and solutions customers demand from technology providers. They include consumerization of IT and mobility, social media, cloud technology and cloud delivery of services, and this concept of big data and all of the information that we are capturing. We believe that the greatest impact in the shortest time frame will probably be from consumerization of IT. In fact, we're living it and seeing it today. We think that social media is going to continue to proliferate. As I mentioned, there are new social media sites, new interactions that are occurring every single day, every single week. There are new entrants that are leveraging what is now possible to redefine the way in which we all communicate with each other. We know, based on current trajectories, that 80% of enterprises in the marketplace by the year 2014 will be leveraging cloud-based delivery models in a significant way. Cloud 3 years ago was barely talked about. Today, quite honestly, it's all we talk about with our customers. And then in terms of big data, the data growth and storage of the information has really given rise to new opportunities. So if you think about what I've already described, the outcome of that is that corporations and entities and associations and governments are collecting data at a rate that is truly unprecedented. There's a short-term challenge associated with that, and that is how do you store and manage that data. But the longer-term opportunity is what can you glean from that data. And that's where we're really seeing some breakthroughs in the most recent months and years. It really comes from two areas that we're seeing kind of the motivation to move to this concept of cloud computing. The first was probably mobilized in part by the economic challenges that we faced over the last number of years. There's a tremendous push within large commercial organizations for efficiency, for cost cutting, to try and stay ahead of the market as it exists. And also the models by which we look to buy and secure IT infrastructure today seem to be changing also. We're seeing customers move from spending money capital to moving to more variable operating expenses in terms of the way they deploy and the way they acquire technologies. Cloud comes in many different forms. There is public cloud technologies, there are private cloud technologies, there are community clouds, there are vertical clouds. But what we're seeing is just about every enterprise that we serve as Dell is moving in this direction, and ultimately we believe most will be leveraging cloud technology in one way or another to deliver on those economic requirements that I described. But one great example of cloud computing and the benefit it can deliver is the work that we're doing with TGen, the Translational Genomics Research Institute. Their mission, their organization's mission, is to make and translate genomic discoveries into advances in human health. So that is what they are, in fact, set up to do. Dell has been working with them to build cloud capability to assist them and their clinical research partners in identifying targeted treatments for children fighting the deadliest forms of pediatric cancer, and to expand the reach and the impact of the world's first personalized medicine clinical trial for pediatric cancer. And so what we've done is we've partnered with TGen to basically empower their researchers to be incredibly more effective than they otherwise would have been. You can see some of the data points here, but what we've been able to do with them is to put a high-performance computing cluster in the cloud, accessible by researchers across the United States and in the future around the world. And what they do when they go to that high-performance computing cluster in the cloud is they take up to 2 million data points pertaining to the human genome or the genetic makeup of the cancer patient, the child that has unfortunately has cancer. They take 2 billion data points and they feed it into this high-performance computing cluster, and they identify through matching technologies and the computational power of that high-performance cluster the most likely effective treatment based on all kinds of algorithms that they will run. And so that sounds like, you know, something that would have been possible previously, and in fact it was. But what is happening because this cloud computing, this hyperscale infrastructure is now in place, and because of the efficiencies and the availability of this capacity, is that you're seeing, you know, a 1,200% increase in that computational capacity. You're seeing, most importantly, a reduction in the time it takes to map and provide the analysis and the outcome in terms of what is the right medicine to provide that child to give them the highest likelihood of recovery. The time frames on this are being reduced dramatically by the implementation of this cloud computing infrastructure that is available to these organizations. The other thing it does, and this is true across all of the research and all of the efforts that are taking place with regard to the human genome and the mapping and the discoveries as to what each of these things mean. The other thing that it does is it reduces the time and the cost associated with that effort. So the benefits I talked about at the beginning, when I talked about cloud computing and what corporations are looking for, in the context of this, you know, part of our customer base with these customers that are doing this kind of work, is absolutely significant in terms of the impact it's having. Right? It's being able to kind of bring these results, these outcomes, much more quickly, much more cost-effectively, with a higher degree of success than was previously possible. And so, you know, what that hopefully brings to mind is cloud computing, while it's a bit of a hypothetical or an ethereal kind of concept, applied correctly is something that will have significant impact on our lives and the lives of many.